Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Yo, check it out. 6ix9ine is accusing Big Bank of moving the goalpost. Said the street code don't work like that. What do you think? We're going to put in the comments. We're going to keep it moving. Yo, let's just get this party started. All right? Hey, yo, I'm getting ready to, before I even begin this, let me show you why I do this. This is not to try to expose nobody. This is just to break down how ugly the game is. And 6ix9ine been telling y'all how ugly this game is. He's exposing it from a rat's point of view. He said, I'm a rat and this is what we do. This is his version of how the street move. He stands on what he did. And he has reasons for what he did. But when it comes to ratting, there's no reason, there's no explanation. It's just you did it. And like he said, he stand on it. And that's what messes everyone up. It pulls their teeth that they have nothing to say because he's not ashamed of who he is. And that's why I labeled some rat bastards. Because a rat bastard is someone that hide behind the fact that he's a rat. 6ix9ine is not hiding. But he's letting me know that, hey, your homies is rats too, And then they say, nah, it is no but. Either they ratted or they didn't rat. Y'all know the circumstances. We're not going to get in it. But 6ix9ine broke it down well. But this is why I do what I do, man.
Hey, what's going on, man? Murder Mook, Harlem, you know what it is, man. I just want to express how much gratitude I got for Unique. You know what I mean? I was telling him a story, telling him how I felt about, if anything was to go wrong with my career, rap-wise, if, should be slow, and I got so many opportunities to be able to do the wrong shit. When I watch Unique Mecca audio, I feel it, and to my soul, and that's keeping me farthest away from doing anything criminal. Anything criminal. He made me think straight, honestly. Made me think straight. Because I've been watching him for about a year, a year now, maybe. And it just took my mind way off of that. Way off of that. From a year ago, it got rough. For a year ago,
Yeah.
and from watching this man, I just felt like you saved me. You saved me. And I just want to show my gratitude, and I want to say thank you, man. Unique Mecca Audio, anything you need, brother, from me.
All right.
Anything you need, man.
All right. All right, so that's what it is. That's why I do what I do, right? And I want to make it be clear that y'all know who ratted, who didn't rat. If you got to say but, then that means that you already know what it is. You should never have to use the word he told but, the reason why. There's no reason for telling it. I mean, we have horrible things happen in the streets. That's why I say don't go in the streets. And you don't run to the police when it happens to you in the streets, when you run in the streets and claim in the streets. And that's why I say don't go in the streets. I'm talking about them taking mothers' lives because they couldn't get to the son. Could you imagine that? Somebody getting your mother because they couldn't get you? You think all you got to do is just you worry about hiding. No, your whole family got to hide. And that's what these rappers got to understand. If you really love your family members, just because you made it out, don't say it's my money and you don't want to break bread with everybody else to make sure everyone else is safe. Because if you safe in your mansion and they down here in the ghetto, they vulnerable for whatever it is that you getting into in your mansion up there. But then the question is, can you sleep good at the end of the night knowing that some can, some can't? So I'm not saying they can't, because I know plenty that just do what they need to do and then that's it. You know? So we don't have to play those games, but 6ix9ine went on there and Big Bang did a lot of tap dancing and crip walking and everything else you want to call it. You know, I didn't like what I see. I didn't like it at all. They went and brought it to race. Nah, you know, it wasn't about race. I can't agree with that because New York, you know, Puerto Ricans and blacks and everybody mixed together. They might have their own pockets that they in, but you know, everyone know when you on the street that we all intertwined and you know we all in this jungle together and it's us against them. But then if you do something to one of them, you know, or one of us, then now we're gonna flip on you. But as long as you're not violating us, we're gonna live together in harmony. And that's how New York was when I grew up back in the day. That's the New York I know. Plenty of the homies. Look at Ziggy Black, Lower East Side. You know what I mean? Come on, man. Black, Ziggy Black, Lower East Side, Spanish Harlem. He ain't no problems down there because we all get together. We move and we in the jungle together. But when I seen 6ix9ine breaking down certain things, and he had facts, and that's what was scary, that he actually had facts. And Big Bang still didn't want to admit to the facts that was mentioned. I'm not going to speak on what was or wasn't. Y'all know what was facts because y'all could read paperwork. 6ix9ine is basically just letting it be known that I told, I ratted, but you know, all you other rats need to come out the closet and stop trying to hide behind the tough guy float. That's all he's saying. And I ain't gonna lie, that interview was like that. If you didn't see it, you need to go see it. I actually sat there and watched the whole thing because they was dancing. They got way off the code is why I'm choosing to do this video because I got a lot of calls about it. And like I said, I don't want to make it like I'm bashing anyone, but I'm just keeping it real. It don't matter who's bringing the facts if it's facts. So don't say, oh, he's a rat, so, you know, he can't bring paperwork. No, rats expose rats too because rats ain't got no conscience. And a rat, do you know that if a rat get caught, right? Let's take a ride. Let's take a ride. Do you know if a rat get caught in a trap that he'll eat his own leg off to go free? Could you imagine eating your own leg off to go free if you caught in a trap? That's what a rat do with no conscience. He'll even eat himself. That's what make you think he gonna care about you. And that's why it's so dangerous to have rat bastards hiding in between the cloak because you don't deserve to be eaten when you're trying to live, you know, a street righteous life. We're gonna say that because if I say righteous, you're gonna get the rat bastards and flip-flop wearing in public trolls coming out of nowhere. Oh, he's praising the streets. No, when you're in it, you do praise it. Because that's all you know. That's all you live. Y'all bugging out at what Pooh Shiesty did. That ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. That's just what go down. I mean, it is what it is. You know, you got all types of people out there. But when someone tells you or shows you who they are, you really need to believe them. You really need to believe them. But let's get into the 6ix9ine thing. My 6ix9ine anger, right? He ain't hiding from the jacket that he told. Let's be clear. 6ix9ine, he told, he cooperated, he testified, he got a lighter sentence because of it. You know, that's public record. We already know that, right? But here's the dangerous part. He's not denying it. He's not saying that it wasn't him, and he's not saying that the paperwork is fake. He's saying, yeah, I told, now what? Now what? Because you want to sit down and have an interview with me because I told, and then where we going from there? You know? Now what? That makes people mad because the shame weapon don't work. The same when the person already admitted that he did it. That's called pulling teeth. That's like pulling teeth is like when Eminem, could we ride? That's like when Eminem played his own character, Rabbit, and he went up there at the end, did the battle, and he said all the trailer park stuff about himself and about how his mom was sleeping with his best friend and everything dude was gonna say, thought he was gonna air him out, get the crowd hype. He went up there and said it about it and said, now what? And that's what 6ix9ine is doing. He's pulling an Eminem. He say, now what? You know, but yo, your man is a rat too. And then now you want to defend your man. Nah, yo, listen, the way it works, right? Because we being 100 here. The way it works, if somebody calls you a rat, then you have to see them. If you don't see them, then they look at it like you's a rat. That's in that world. But in the civilized world, you know, I say, yeah, I walk away from that. That's just a title. That's just a name. But when you're in the street, that's the worst thing you could be called. That's like back in my days, if somebody called a man a he cipher, monkey cipher, he was getting punched in the mouth right there. It was on. And that's equivalent to someone calling you a rat, especially in that prison, because all you have is your name. And someone labeling you a rat? Come on now. You know, you can't expose someone who already, you know, exposed himself. So now he flipped it back. He says, okay, I'm a rat, but, you know, what are your homies? What are your homies that did the same thing? And that's where the room gets quiet, and that's where the excuses come out at, you know? Oh, you know, he only did this, he only got the phone number, only asked for the phone number, gave the phone number, you know. We were trying to you know, that's where the excuses came out, because 6ix9ine is not arguing, you know, from an honorable point of view. He's not arguing about the honor. He's arguing about the hypocrisy. He's not saying I'm an honorable rat. He's hiding. 6ix9ine know exactly what he did. He claimed what he did, and that's why he's marketing what he did. Don't be surprised if Nike don't go pick him up and make a 6ix9ine hoodie. You understand? They ain't gonna do nothing like put a big rat on the forehead or nothing, but you know, don't be surprised, because this dude is marketable. He know how to market himself. I'm looking at him. And then he played homie and said, hold up, let's get this straight. You can edit this if you want to edit it, but I'm paying you to be here. And let's look at the way that went, right? Let's ride out. Big Bang throws out a SOS that he wants to interview 6ix9ine, right? So he's letting everybody know, let him know he want to interview him, being he done sat down with Young Thug, right? Now, he's reaching out for him. So he's going to bring him on the show, and it's supposed to be where Big Bang pays, you know, this young man. But then now, the young man turns around and says, yo, let's get this straight. I'm paying you for you to be here at my house. In other words, I'm giving you this charity. I'm throwing you this bone, dog. So let me be me. And then Big Bang accused him of doing too much. What's too much? From I came home in 2020 and I first seen this dude, I seen a joke where he was in a wagon, like a red wagon being pulled up like Harlem Street. You know what I mean? He's saying that, man, I'm outside, I'm everywhere. And this was the heat of everything going on. This dude took this thing to the fullest and branded it. I mean, I'm just come out of jail after 26 years, man. I see this man with mad jewels on, stacks of money. I've never seen social media. I've never seen nobody do it like that. I see my stacks of money, but the homie stacks of money, but the person just out on a boat with stacks of money, we didn't even do that. And we had the money. But I said, this dude getting it. And, you know, I heard about what he did. And to me, like I said, I watch all this for entertainment from where I'm at right now. And he was very entertaining. There's a lot of dudes up here that's entertaining. And Big Bang was trying to tell him to tone it down, and he was like, "Nah, dog, this me. You want me to lay back like them dudes that be trying to act cool and fake when they be doing their podcast? Nah, I'm gonna be me. So I'm gonna jump up, run around in my chicatas or whatever, in my pool, in my house, my Ferrari. Yo, you gotta look at that studio he got." And he said, "Yo, listen, I ain't even gonna front. When I was watching this, and I'm looking at the people walking through those big windows, and on the side to the right when you see the interview, I thought they was like in some rented area that he might have rented, but the man said this is on his property, dog. He got a Ferrari out on the pool deck with a big $70,000, $80,000 screen. That's how he started his podcast. Are y'all really watching this? I mean, like I said, we ain't picking sides over here at Unique Mecca Audio, but you know where Unique Mecca Audio stand. But I'm just letting it be known that it don't matter who's bringing the facts. If it's documented, it don't matter who's bringing those facts. Because the rat always going to expose. That's what they do. You know what I mean? So, because 6ix9ine, like I said, he's not arguing from honor. He's arguing the hypocrisy in what's going on. He's saying that the street code is being used like a remote control. Press mute when it's your people, it's your favorite rapper. Press mute. Ooh, no. And press the volume when it's somebody you hate. Turn it all the way up, And that's not the code. That's favoritism. That's fan behavior. That's not man behavior. That's selective outrage dressed up like street politics. That's selective outrage dressed up like street politics, so you understand. Big Bank's position defending his hometown. He tried to defend his hometown, I can't say as he should, because if there is someone in your hometown that's not right, you ain't supposed to be defending them. But if someone is right, by all means, you're supposed to defend them, right? But Big Bang kept saying, "Man, I ain't got nothing to do with it." You know what I mean? I ain't got nothing to do with it. What y'all think about Big Bang saying he ain't got nothing to do with it? Now, Big Bang is from Atlanta. Big Bang got relationships. Big Bang knows people, right? Down in Atlanta. Big Bang has to sit in a chair and protect his name, his city, his friendships, and his credibility, right? So when 6ix9ine starts bringing up Young Thug and Gunna, Big Bang can't just casually say, "Yeah, they told too." So that's where the tap dancing came. Because that's not just commentary, that's politics. That's relationships. That's Atlanta business. That's the industry business. That's street reputation business. So Big Bang starts, separating it, right? He starts saying 6ix9ine's situation is different. Do you think 6ix9ine's situation is different? Put it in the comments. He starts saying everybody's plea ain't the same. Everybody's plea ain't the same. Good point. Some people take a plea not to cooperate, and some take it to get the 5K1, right? He starts saying paperwork got levels, and legally, he may have a point. But streetwise, that's where the arguments get real muddy, so you understand. Because the street never cared about all these legal definitions when it was time to bury someone else's name. The street don't usually say, "Hold on, was that an Alpha brother? Was that my homie?" The streets don't usually say, "Let me examine the statutory language." You ever heard of the streets that say, "Let me, examine the statutory language of, this ratting situation"? The street says, "Did you sit with the state?" The street says, "Did you acknowledge something they needed?" The street say, "Did your mouth help with their case?" And that's the standard 6ix9ine was forcing Big Bank to face up to. That's why the conversation got sharp like it did. Gunner's paperwork, legal clean, street dirty. That's the question. Now, let's talk Gunner. Gunner took an alpha plea, right? That means legally he can maintain innocence while accepting the prosecution had enough evidence to likely convict. That part matters. His legal team said he did not cooperate. His legal team said that he did not harm Young Thug's case. His legal team also said that his plea could not be used against other defendants. So legally, that's his defense. But streetwise, the damage came from the courtroom answers. The damage came out of his mouth from the courtroom answers, and that's what 6ix9ine is saying, that Young Thug's interrogation room footage and audio makes him just as ratty as he is. But streetwise, the damage came, like I said, from the courtroom answers. When the prosecutor framed YSL as a label and a gang, Gunner acknowledged it. That's all he needed. That's all they needed to move the case forward. It was going forward anyway, but I'm just saying that put the strengthening on it. When the prosecutor said members or associates committed crimes in furtherance of that gang, he answered, yes, ma'am. Just by him answering yes, ma'am to that, that's what put it up there where it was under forfeiture, because they're saying that the crime of violence was endured in order to further enhance the enterprise. That is not a legal record enterprise. It's an alleged illegal gang hiding behind the enterprise. And that's what that statement did. Now, here's the jewel that you need to get. In court, that may be a controlled plea statement, right? In the street, that sounds like confirming the government's theory. And that is why people reacted, right? Because that statement coincided with the government's theory of the YSL case. Because the streets don't always understand legal strategy. The streets understand optics. The streets understand perception. The streets understand you stood in front of a judge and you agreed with the state. That's all the street understand. That don't mean I'm calling a man guilty of being a rat legally, but I am saying this. In the street court of public opinion, that moment look bad. And that's where explanations come, and you're gonna run into people that do not tolerate or accept reasons or explanations. And then, of course, it's like that where it's people that F with you too, that they're gonna be like, all right, and they'll buy the bullshit you give them. And once it looks bad, the internet turns it into a jury with no appeals. Once the internet expose or convict you, you're convicted and you don't get no appeal, no Supreme Court, no none of that. That's the monster these rappers help create. That's the monster that these rappers help create. You teach the fans street law, then get mad when the fans prosecute you with it. You telling the fans that you bout it by the street, and then you go and press charges on Pooh Shiesty, and it's like, whoa. That's you teaching the fans street law, then get mad when the fans prosecute you for not holding up to it. Is that crazy work or what? Somebody let me know if that's crazy work. Now, Young Thug's situation, another layer. Now, Young Thug's situation is different again. He fought that case for a long time. He sat in jail. He went through one of the longest trials in Georgia history that they ever seen. Then he eventually pleaded guilty to certain charges. He also received strict probation. He got time served. He got conditions. He had to stay away from Metro Atlanta for years. So the question becomes this: did he tell? Did he cooperate? Did he testify against someone? Or did he take a plea to save his own life and freedom? That's where the argument needs discipline. Because taking a plea is not automatically telling. Pleading guilty is not automatically snitching. Everybody who pleads guilty did not cooperate. Because you could take a plea where you don't give a statement, you just claim to plead guilty to the charges in the indictment, and that's it. But if your plea includes statements that help the state and hurt someone else, that's when the street gets involved. That's the difference. 6ix9ine is trying to blurry all of it together, right? Big Bank is trying to separate all of it apart. The truth is in the middle. Every plea is not the same, but every person should be judged by the same standard. And that's what 6ix9ine standing on. That's the part nobody wants to say. The real street code breakdown, right? The street code was never fair. Let's stop lying. The street code was always emotional. It depended on who it loved. It depended on who you fed. It depended on who had the most money. It depended on who had the most power. It depended on who the neighborhood wanted to protect. One man gets paperwork, he's finished. Another man gets paperwork, they say, nah, bro, you gotta understand the context. Y'all paying attention to this, because this is deep. Make sure y'all say this, man. That ain't code, that's politics. And that's exactly what 6ix9ine exposed in that interview. Not because 6ix9ine is honorable, not because 6ix9ine is righteous, not because 6ix9ine is some street philosopher, but because even a broken clock can point at hypocrisy. And when he asked Big Bang why certain Atlanta rappers get protected, that was a real question. Not because he hate Atlanta, not because he hate Young Thug, not because he hate Gunna, but because if you preach a code, you can't keep changing the rules when your people get caught in the same storm. Either the code applies to everybody or the code is just entertainment. And that's how it's been treated lately. Or the code is just entertainment. And if it's entertainment, stop selling it to the youth like it's the law. Because you're leading them down the wrong path to make wrong decisions like what we just saw in front of our eyes with Pooh Shiesty. Because Pooh Shiesty really believed in his heart that Young Thug wasn't going to no police, that he was going to keep it on the street level. Because prison is real and these kids are dying behind fake rules grown men don't even follow. You're making the rules up as you go along and you're still not even following them as you're making them up because you're changing them every chance you get. And that's what 6ix9ine is accusing everyone of, that's protecting these industry dudes. The industry problem. Rappers sell street law, then hire real lawyers. Rappers sell street law, and then they hire real lawyers. Because now they're a rapper and they're businessmen. Does that give them the right to tell now while they're still promoting that, nah, I ain't no businessman, I'm about it. I'm sliding, I'll never go to the police. I'll never talk to the police laying up in my big pool. This is what fooled the youth, and that's why we're doing this over here at Unique Mecca Audio, to let it be known. The industry problem, rappers sell street law, then hire real lawyers. This is the part the youth need to hear. Rappers sell you street code in their music. Then when the indictment come, they hire the best lawyers money can buy. They don't stand on lyrics. They don't stand on legal strategy. They don't say, I'm keeping it gangster. They say, Your Honor, I'm a changed man. They don't say free the gang. They, they say, I need to go home to my family. And I'm not mad at that. A man shouldn't fight. A man should fight for his freedom. But don't teach children to crash out on the rules you won't follow yourself, Mr. Gucci Man. I'm going to say that because I really think that's an ugly situation going on right now. It's an ugly situation in our culture right now, right? Now, don't tell a 16-year-old or a 21-year-old that ain't know nothing about nothing but the streets all their life to never fold while your lawyer is negotiating your plea, but you telling him to go hard and your lawyer is negotiating your plea. Don't tell the block loyalty is everything while the courtroom is full of people saving themselves. That is the sickness. That is the contradiction. That is why I do these breakdowns, because the youth see them and they see the chain. They see the cars. They see the jewelry. They see the interviews, but they don't see the plea agreement. They don't see the probation terms. They don't see the judge controlling where you can live. They don't see how you're treated in prison for keeping it 100. That's why the streets are real, but prison is realer. The big bank moving the goalposts, right? Let's talk about that. Big Bank's problem in that interview was simple. He wanted to hold 6ix9ine to one standard, but he wanted to give the Atlanta favorites another standard. That's human. But it ain't honest. Because if 6ix9ine is wrong for cooperating, then anyone who helps the state has to be judged too, right? If Gunner did not cooperate, say that clearly. It's what 6ix9ine proposed at Big Bang. But don't act like the courtroom clip don't exist. And he even pulled up the courtroom clip. If Young Thug only pleaded to save himself, say that clearly. But don't pretend pleas are never part of state strategy, right? If paperwork matters, it matters. If context matters for everyone. You can't say paperwork destroys one man, then context says another. That's moving the goalposts, which is what, he held them accountable of. That's changing the scoreboard after the game starts. That's saying the people get grace, your people get judgment. And the youth can see through that. The internet can see through that. Everyone can see through that. Even people who don't like 6ix9ine can see through that. That's why he was effective in that moment. He made the conversation uncomfortable. He made Big Bank defend the gray area. And that's where Big Bank was wrong, because there is no gray area to defend. It's either he told or he didn't tell. Either you got paperwork or you don't. Either you got video or audio of him telling or you don't. Let's keep it moving. He made the street code look inconsistent. That's what Big Bang did. He made the street code look inconsistent, right? And when the code looks inconsistent, the whole mythology starts cracking. That's when the young people need to wake up. Because if the rules change depending on who you are, then those rules were never real in the first place. The lesson for the youth, right? The lesson for the youth. A young brother listened, right? So I'm going to talk to you young brothers. Listen to me. Stop letting entertainers teach you, prison rules. Stop letting rappers teach you loyalty. Stop letting interviews teach you, street law. Because when the feds come, everybody becomes an individual. Remember that. Everybody becomes an individual. When the indictment drops, everybody gets their own lawyer. When the plea offer comes, everybody starts thinking about their mother, their children, their money they leaving behind, their freedom, and their future. And then they turn your black ass in. That same man screaming, never tell, might be the first man asking his lawyer, what can we work out? You know what I mean? That's not me glorifying telling. That's me exposing the lie. The lie is that the streets are built on loyalty. Loyalty is within your heart, man. You don't have to be from the street to have loyalty. And just because you have loyalty towards someone don't mean that they're going to have it back towards you. But the key is being honorable amongst yourself. You know what's right or wrong, so you don't do something for someone to do it back. Because I heard 6ix9ine saying they did this to his baby mother, they kidnapped him, they did this and that. All right, so what? They kidnapped my mother, tied her up, pistol whipped her, and the whole nine. That's a part of the game, young man. That wasn't a reason for me to go run to the police. Oh, he's the one that tied up my mother and he did this and he did that. Whoa, what the hell the police got to do with this when the police never got me in this in the first place? I've been trying to duck and hide from the police and now I'm going to run to the police and say help? I don't know. I wonder where Gucci Man got his morals from. You get got, you take your loss, man. Or you retaliate for it. But it's your choice. But if you know you out there shucking and jogging and doing the same thing to other people and then now get done to you and you yell, I'm a businessman, I'm telling. Now, the lie is the streets, right? Is built on loyalty, right? No. The streets are built on fear, money, survival, and betrayal. Let's get it straight. The streets is not built on loyalty. The streets is built on fear, money, survival, and betrayal. And then you loyal to those that you meet that's cut from your cloth and stand on your morals and principles. Then you're loyal to them, but you're not loyal to everybody else. But that don't mean because you're not loyal to them, you run to the police to tell on them. And that's what the problem seemed to be. Someone did something to me, so I tell the police. Huh? Now, the streets are built on fear, money, survival, and betrayal, like I said, right? Loyalty exists under the sentence, if the sentence gets too heavy, right? Loyalty exists under somebody is facing life. Loyalty exists under the prosecutor says that discovery on the table. When they set the discovery on the table, you see you going to prison. That's when you know if you're a man or not. Because that's when you have to make a choice if you're going down by yourself or you're taking somebody with you. Loyalty exists until a man realizes the people he was protecting can't save him. When they can't reciprocate and save you, that's when these dudes rat on each other. That's why I tell the youth, don't come off the porch, huh? Don't come off the porch chasing a code that grown men abandon in court. So many people go in court and abandon all this, man, and tell on their mother. I seen people tell on their mother in that prison while I was in there. Don't throw your life away for somebody's image. Don't crash out for a rapper. Don't go to prison for a neighborhood that won't even put money on your books, after 6 months. Because by 6 months, everybody gone. They don't forgot about you. Oh, he ain't coming back. You already know 6 months go so fast here, Don't sacrifice your freedom for people who will debate your paperwork on a podcast. Don't sacrifice your freedom for people who will debate your paperwork on a podcast. Build your mind, build your skill, build your future, because freedom is the real flex. Right? Now, let's give you the final breakdown, right? 6ix9ine didn't win the code. He exposed the hypocrisy, like I said. Let me close it like this. 6ix9ine did not become honorable because he admitted he told. Let's not get that confused. Telling is telling. Cooperation is cooperation. Paperwork is paperwork. But what he did in that interview was expose the double standard. He forced Big Bank to answer a street code question with industry politics. And that's what was scary, that people actually listened to these answers that these dudes was even talking about. All I cared about was the facts that was being exposed. He forced people to ask, right? He forced people to ask why one man gets buried and another man gets explained. That's what 6ix9ine did, right? He forced the culture to look in the mirror, and the mirror was ugly, because the truth is a lot of people don't care about the code. They care about who they like. They care about who makes good music. They care about where they are, what city they from, and they care about who they scared to criticize. They care about who they scared to criticize. That's not street code. That's celebrity worship. And celebrity worship will get these kids destroyed, because a young man will hear all kinds of talk and think the code is real when they're getting a distorted version of the code, because they up here on social media trying to explain a code to a game that they never set a pinky toe in, much less a foot. Because a young man will hear all that talk and think that the code is real. Then he gets arrested, then he gets indicted, then he gets abandoned. I mean, should I keep going? Then he learns the hard way that the streets don't love nobody. So the jewel is simple. Don't live by a code that disappears when the paperwork comes out. Remember that. Let me ask you these questions, right? Did 6ix9ine expose Big Bank, or did Big Bank just refuse to violate Atlanta politics? Is Gunna Alfred plead legally clean with street code dirty? Let me know. Can a person say, I didn't cooperate, if their courtroom answers help the states navigate? Why does the culture call 6ix9ine a rat instantly, but ask for context when it comes to their favorite rappers? Is taking a plea the same as telling, or only when your words hurt someone else? Did 6ix9ine win the argument, or did he just drag everybody else into the mud with him? Do you think 6ix9ine just dragged all the other, rappers that did what he did into the mud with him? He exposed them. That's what rats do. They expose. Now, is Big Bank protecting the truth, protecting Atlanta, or protecting relationships? Do fans really care about street code, or do they only care when they already dislike the artist? Are rappers teaching kids a fake code they don't follow once the indictment hits? What's more dangerous for the youth, the snitching itself, or the hypocrisy that makes the code look real under its, till it's too late? Let's get out of here. You ready to ride? You ready to ride? Ready to ride?
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime. Mecca what? Mecca audio. Mecca what? Mecca audio. Mecca what? Mecca audio. Mecca what? Mecca audio.
Fresh out the can of 26, he back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops. Mecca audio.
Mecca what? Mecca audio. Mecca what? Mecca audio. Mecca what? Mecca audio. Mecca what? Mecca audio. And we gon' do it like. We gon' do it like. We keep it moving like. We gotta do it like.
Hey, what's going on, man? Murder Mook, Harlem. You know what it is, man. I just want to express how much gratitude I got for Unique. You know what I mean? I was telling him a story, telling him how I felt about, if anything was to go wrong with my career, rap-wise, if, shit be slow, and I got so many opportunities to be able to do the wrong shit. When I watch Unique Mecca audio, I feel it, and I like to my soul, and that's keeping me farthest away from doing anything criminal. Anything criminal. He made me think straight, honestly. Made me think straight, because I've been watching him for about a year, like a year now, maybe, and it just took my mind way off of that. From a year ago, it got rough. For a year ago, and from watching this man, I just felt like you saved me. You saved me. And I just want to show my gratitude, and I want to say thank you, man. Unique Mecca audio, anything you need, brother, from me.
All right.
Anything you need, man.
All right.
Harlem.